And you've been involved in philanthropy. Bread and Roses, yeah. Lifehouse. What was it that, really drew you towards, people don't like to say giving back, being of service? Yeah. And you're not a guy that just writes a check. You're there.
No.
You participate.
Well, here's the thing. I know that I'm more valuable. My time is way more valuable than my money.
Right.
Because I got, I'm more famous than I am rich. and so that, no, and seriously. And so in a charity sense, I get obviously lots of requests to do everything locally as well as nationally,
sure,
and internationally. And so a guy has to pick his spots, has been my view. So I find 4 or 5 great local charities that I like, and I just stick with them. And that's been great. What got me in Lifehouse was my neighbor, Elizabeth Nicholson, told me about the organization. We had sung, some of the clients were in Special Olympics, and we'd sung an anthem for the Special Olympics, and it was compelling watching the athletes compete. It was very, very compelling. And I got to talk to a couple of the athletes, and they were really neat. And then, so when she, invited me to go to a function, I did, met a few of the clients, went to a few of the houses, and I was smitten by the work they're doing. And so I became involved. That was, 30 years ago, or 25 years ago. So, but that's an easy decision. Yeah, a guy needs to do that. You need, it's part of the deal. You've got, they call it giving back, whatever. But if you pick your spots right and you're really into once again, it can be really a source of real pleasure. Meeting the clients is wonderful. They are so fun, and they remind you of how lucky we all are on this planet, and how lucky you are, and they're having such a great time, It's really kind of opens your mind to the rest of the world.
Well, I remember you saying vividly, I remember it vividly, at one of the Bread and Roses events where you suggested that you're getting as much as you're giving. I think you call it, what do you call it, a twofer?
A twofer.
A twofer.
Well, that's and Bread and Roses is another one. Bread and Roses is a different thing, as you know, music for institutionalized people. And the nice thing about that is I worked for Bread and Roses back when I was in Clover. We played in San Quentin.
As a volunteer.
As a volunteer.
Before you were famous.
That's right, before I was famous. But what's not, and the reason I call it a twofer is that not only gives pleasure to institutionalized people, like, the hospitalized or prison or whatever, but the bands that they hire to do this are young up-and-coming bands. And if you're a young and up-and-coming musician, you play, you rarely play publicly. It's hard to get a public gig. Nobody's heard you. And when you do, it's usually just your girlfriend and your friends and your parents that are in the audience. So they're a real easy audience. And when you go play a Bread and Roses gig, you play for the first time to people who don't care. And many of them, some of them are so old that maybe they don't even hardly hear you, right? So they're kind of a tough crowd. And it's really good to play music in front of a tough crowd, because what you instantly know about it is you learn a lot about your music that way. Interestingly, I always say with a new song, it's not when you play a new song live, it's not to see how it's reacted to, because it can't really be reacted to, because they're hearing it for the first time, and anytime you hear something for the first time, it's tough to react to anyway. Besides which, the technical limitations of any place, they might not be able to hear the words and so on. But what's important is how you feel when you're singing that song to people who are just blank-faced.
Yeah.
So you learn a lot about yourself. So it's a really good one for the acts as well.
Well, the concept of twofer is actually in alignment with this concept of, in this life you're going to give what you get as you're building your life portfolio. Be thinking about giving. If you're building a network, be thinking about giving. Pearls of wisdom that you would give to an educator of today in really trying to unleash some of the stuff that you had unleashed as a young person and appears to still be unleashed today.
Yeah, well, I really think it's about equating the book learning, if you will, with the practical stuff.
Right.
And that's the key. How do you put these two things together? How do you put, finding your passion And for educators, I'd say that's what we try to do. Try and make this technical stuff apply to real life practical things that kids like to do. You know, we can't all be web designers, but some of us can, and we can't all be, you know, surfers, but some of us can, and we can't all be, you know, skateboarders for a living, but some of us can, and so or we can't all be guitar players for a living, but some of us can, and you know, so that's it. So pursue your passion, and if you do, you'll be happy, and hopefully you'll make it. But even if you don't, you're going to be happy.